Yo, what's up, ninjas? Today we're going to be learning how to make Illenium type saws in Sylenth1. It's going to be a fairly simple tutorial because his saws are pretty much just a standard Supersaw with really an OTT on it. However, we're going to talk a little bit about how to make them sound clean because it can get kind of messy, and how to spice it up a bit. Okay, so without further ado, let's pretty much get into the tutorial, guys. As always, evilsounds.com if you want to support me and buy a sound bank, as always, and let's get to it. Alright, so here I have some chords that I have from a track already. If I play you guys the track, you guys heard it if you follow me on Snap, the original version, but I put the chords out for this just like that, just so I can make his type of saws, which is different from this. But I'll show you guys the drop, I guess, but, you know. So pretty much all the sounds in this are just the Marcelo Chic sound bank that I released. Even though the sounds weren't meant for future bass, you know, you can still use them. Like the Tetris Rag one, it's just a vocal based one, and then the bass is literally just called Night Rider. It was meant to be a bass more for other stuff, but you know, whatever works, you know. So we're gonna go with this. So the first thing we're going to do is 8 voices, and we're going to be utilizing 2 saws, and that's going to help us pretty much make the super saws you guys know. Now the polyphony is going to go straight up to 16, just because if you're working with chords, some people like to double up on their chords, so you'll have like 6 notes playing. And polyphony just means that it can play up to 16 notes at the same time. This can be hit. You might think, who the fuck is going to play 16 notes at the same time? However, when you have a huge amount of release, and you have 16 notes on both sides playing already, and your release is still there, if you hit the polyphony cap, then you pretty much are going to have this kind of like and then it's going to get rid. There's not going to be no release. So mainly it's good to put it at 16 if you're using it. Doesn't really matter much. It's a good habit just to put it at 16 either way, so whatever. Okay, so the next thing is to take off the retricks. This is going to make it so that the phase doesn't start over again. It's just going to let the phase keep going. This is going to give us more of a stereo type of sound than more of a mono-ish type. If you hear it with retrig on, you have that, but without it, you get a more stereo type of sound from it. So pretty much the manual says it just lets the phase keep going, while I say, usually I tell people that turning off the retrig just makes it stereo. And sometimes people like to bash me like, oh, that's not what the manual says. Well, in my head, it's better to know what something's gonna do to the sound rather than know what the fuck, you know, definition of it is. Because I've had a lot of people where they comment something like, oh, that does not do what you said it does. But in my opinion, it's better to teach someone what it's gonna do to your sound rather than what the fucking manual says. It's like me teaching you guys, reading shit off a manual while I'm saying, okay guys, so we're gonna turn this knob, and this knob is gonna be like, it's gonna create detunement. All the little saws are gonna get detuned, and then they're gonna create this sort of kind of thingy-majiggy. Instead of saying they're you know, you're gonna get that super saw sound with detunement, it makes more fucking sense than me doing that. So fuck you, whoever, for those few individuals who are like, I'm such a great sound designer because I read the manual. Anyways, let's get back to this. So the next thing is detunement. First tip here with the Supersaw thing, because I know everyone knows how to make fucking Supersaws, is when you detune differently in both oscillators. Now for this patch, we're gonna go down 1 octave on one of them, and the other one's gonna stay at the 0 octave mark. This is gonna help us cover a broader frequency range, essence helping us make the Illenium type of sound. This is gonna make the Supersaw sound more fat, because if I were to play the F, rather than, you know, like, you can see this sounds fatter, because again we're covering more frequency space. Okay, so the one that is down an octave lower, usually you want the detunement on that one lower. You don't want that shit up here, because you kind of get more of a dirty-ish sound. So we're gonna leave it like this, like maybe at 9 o'clock. The other one, however, can get detuned a bit more. You don't want the same though, like around 11 o'clock, and we're gonna have something like that. Sounds very clean, because again we're open voicing this, you could say. Now we'll talk a little bit about the MIDI after, but right now, once we have this, we're gonna give it a bit of attack. No release, maybe just a tiny bit of release. Future bass doesn't tend to have long ass releases like trance Supersaws, like damn. Okay, so just do that. We have that already, right? Now we're gonna put a low pass. It's 12 dB, and all we're gonna use it for is to get rid of a little bit of the higher frequencies, like around there. And now what we're gonna do is in part B, we're gonna add some white noise. Now the cool thing about putting the white noise in part B rather than in part A is that we get to have our own filter for the white noise. So there you can put like a high pass to it and maybe, you know, filter out the low end from it. I'm gonna put one white noise. As you can see, white noise is very, very dirty. So this helps us do this. So we can have that there, and then now we go. Now we're gonna give it the same envelopes that we did for this one. You just want a high attack, pretty much. That's it. Now the white noise is gonna add a little bit of, again, more fatness to it, just because it's gonna cover a higher frequency since the high pass got rid of the lows. And pretty much that's going to be it for that. Now from there we can go into, you know, the effects section and say you want to get creative with it. Then you can add chorus, which is going to give you more of a that kind of feel of it. But with Illenium, it's just basic Supersaw with white noise. Definitely you can add EQ if you want, but pretty much that's it when it comes to being in Sylenth1. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to put an EQ. And we are pretty much gonna just do a low pass on it, because in future bass we have pretty much what I like to call the kick. You know, so we don't want it, again, it's gonna be the same for all EDM. We don't want it to, you know, conflict with it. So pretty much we're just gonna do something like this. So very simple. This type of saws work in more slower songs than faster songs. I'm just going to let you know. So that's what kind of sounds a little bit weird, because this is lagging. Okay. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put pretty much an OTT, which is going to make this sound even more bigger. Now, you don't need to have the OTT at 100%. You can lower it down, but the OTT is good for making shit pop out of the speaker. It gives the Supersaw a totally different feeling from what you guys can see. And this is pretty much what we're gonna have. And then if you want to add an auto filter with a high pass, that is totally up to you, but we can even do that again if you want to. We can add a notch here and then do a high pass to kind of just emphasize. Now, some of you are going to be like, the Supersaws don't sound that strong. You're not supposed to sound strong. In the song of Illenium, usually what he likes to do in like kind of like most of his songs is he has the saw not be so powerful. And what I mean by this is we don't want a saw that's going to fucking sound like it's the center of attention. Usually there's a lead on top of it. So usually a saw is going to be used as a backbone to make it sound not so plain and to give more body to the song. So this is the type of Supersaw you're going to use for stuff like this. All we need to do now literally is just kind of do a notch here for this track, and as you guys saw there. But pretty much that's going to be it, guys. This is a tutorial, simple tutorial. Now before I go, because I've almost totally forgot, the MIDI, also you want to make sure that you're using open voicing when it's appropriate and closed voicing when it's appropriate. What I mean by open voicing is you can do this. It sounds a bit too dirty for me, so what we do is just open voice it, aka the top two notes of your chords can get put an octave up, and that's called open voicing. You can do that for the piano too. When piano players do this, they call it open voicing. There's your music theory lesson for the day. Closed voicing is just doing the opposite, is putting this down there, you know, and then pretty much there, you know, you have more of a cleaner. Sometimes it doesn't work as intended, but you know, you guys get the feeling for it. That's gonna be it for the MIDI. Man, I still have this cough after 2 to 3 weeks, and someone commented on it. It's not that I'm always sick, it's the fact that it's still the same fucking cough. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a good one.